What's up? Jeremy Kitty here with the awarenessrevolution.com. Today I'm going to dispel another myth and I'm going to explain why the rich get richer and the poor do not get poorer. Of course, that is what we've always heard, is that rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And as usual, I'm going to shatter that myth that we've all heard and pretty much believed without questioning it. I'm Jeremy Kinney with the awarenessrevolution.com. If this is your first time on my YouTube channel, make sure to check out my other videos and consider subscribing. I've got a lot of great videos already made and a lot more coming, you guys. I try to keep my content as good as possible, and because I have a small channel right now, I do my best to engage with everyone. So if you have a question, if you disagree or whatever, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll get the conversation going. So let's dive right in. Simply put, the reason why the poor do not get poorer is because the rich pull them out of the hole. Yes, economics does trickle down. I know that's not what you're going to hear in the leftist media or any of these people that's in the far left or even just a little bit left. It's getting so crazy now. The people that are a little bit on the left aren't far enough on the left anymore. They're losing to people. It's like a contest who could be more on the left. So I'm going to explain how it does trickle down. All right, so what capitalism is when I think of capitalism, I have to define it. It's free market capitalism. What we have today is not free market capitalism, such as the banks getting bailed out and stuff like that. That's not the free market. That's the government picking winners and losers. The market should choose winners and losers. So what happens in a free market is everyone wins each time there's a transaction. It's a win-win. Otherwise, people wouldn't voluntarily engage in the transaction. So that's where this movement known as voluntarism comes from. All transactions being voluntary, and I love it. It's a revolutionary concept, and it's really simple, actually. I mean, why should we be forced to do anything? You know, isn't that the opposite of freedom? So when a society is allowed to engage freely and not be forced into anything, everyone, it's a win-win every time people are doing a transaction. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So this simple concept helps make it really easy to see why the standard of living would be raised, because each time people are transacting with each other, they're raising the standard of living. All right. Now, I'll get a little bit more into that, but I just want to give you a little bit of proof, because I feel like in your head you're probably thinking, yeah, right. So before you turn the channel, I just want to point out that half of the extreme poverty in the world, and that's a term, that's a technical term that economists use, extreme poverty, but the extreme poverty rate has been decreased by about 50% in the last 20 or 30 years. So that's less than my lifetime. That's huge. That's 50%. So, you know, this is not what you're going to hear in the media on the left. That's because they being these globalists, these collectivists, the left, the government, they want a reason to steal our productivity, you know, to taxes. So they have to point out that a lot of people have more money than the poor people, you know, so that way the poor people can vote for them to take money from the rich. You know, so that's why they point out this disparity. You know, they point out how it's unfair. The rich have all this money, but the thing is the rich, most of them, you know, they make a living by providing value to other people. If they didn't provide value, and it was a free market, why would people be buying their stuff? Why would so many people be buying someone's product if they didn't like it? The only way that this can happen when they're not providing anything of value is when people are being forced to buy something, such as war or something. We don't all want war, but we're forced to fund it because the government has the perceived authority to take the money from us to cover things like war expenses. So, that definitely doesn't make us any richer. That doesn't increase our standard of living. Now, it could be argued that that keeps us safe, but that's debatable. I won't get into that because that's not the topic of this video. But just keep in mind that the extreme poverty rate has been declining. And I'm going to show you that in this post, which I'll link to below. But again, going back to voluntary transactions, you can see how this raises the standard of living of everyone. And over time, people just see an increased standard of living. Now, yeah, a lot of people are still living in poverty, but it's only a matter of time before they're able to rise up out of poverty. So maybe the U.S. or other places might start prospering first, but other places are gonna follow the lead. Like in the U.S., even poor people have it pretty good. They'll have cars, they'll have cell phones, flat screen TVs, and stuff like that. Whereas some people in other countries don't even have clean running water. And that's sad. We need to do something about that. And by the way, if you're not familiar with this, watch the documentary Flow, Flow, or you can watch Blue Gold. Watch one of those documentaries because that's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I even have a whole podcast on water. You can get to it at theawarenessrevolution.com/2, and that's just the number 2. It's my second podcast episode. So check out that water. So you'll see that I'm really passionate about water. But anyways, so capitalism is based on the saving of capital. And this is basic economics. Capitalists save up their money. Socialists call it hoarding the money. But, if we hoard the money and don't do anything with it, then it's worthless. It's pointless. No one actually wants the money. It's what the money can do, We don't work for money. We work for what money can do for us, like pay our bills, right? So the idea of hoarding wealth really doesn't make any sense because that doesn't do anything for us. But what it does do is if we save money, we can put it back into the business, invest it in such a way that provides more value for more people. So how can that be done? Like, let's say you have people and they're out there digging up a hole. Well, if you save up the money and buy a plow, you can get the work done a lot faster. So what that does is it makes your employees more productive. You can pay them more because they provide more value for the company, and now everyone wins. The consumer gets, you're able to charge this consumer less than you would before because you're more productive. You're able to pay the employee more money because he's more productive, or she. And so it's a win-win for everyone. And this is how the standard of living gets raised for the entire world. Now, it's not all at the same time. It's not all equal. But people often fall for the fixed pie fallacy where, like if you have one piece of pie and the rich have 90% of it and we're all sharing 10%, it's like, oh, that seems totally unfair. But the thing is the pie started off this big. And the rich made it this big. There's not a fixed amount of money or, just value in this world. Value can be created, inventions and everything else. So, someone's wealth, it doesn't mean that you have less because they have some, right? No more than if they have a really good singing voice or big muscles. That doesn't mean that you have less muscles. Now, you may have less muscles when compared to them, but stop comparing yourself to other people and compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. that's the only person you got to be better than. It's the person that you were yesterday. All right? So don't fall for the fixed pie fallacy. And, because all that does is create hatred amongst your fellow men, amongst people that maybe they're hiring you for a job, or whatever else. It's just a really bad situation. It's envy. And I like the Thomas Sowell quote. What did he say? He said, I can't understand. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. Can't understand how it's greed to want to keep your own money, but not greed to want to take someone else's. Something like that. And it's so true. So we have the benefit of living today after many other people saved their capital and invested it to become more and more productive, like during the Industrial Revolution and stuff like that. So, like the life that we live today, rich people 100, 150 years ago could never even dream of having. We have cars, we can just hop in a plane and fly across the country. We've got internet, we've got cell phones with Google that we can just type in any question we want and answers will start showing up. I mean, we've got herbs that some kings, emperors, whatever you want to call it, like in China, they had time periods where only the elite, the top privileged class, like the emperor, and was only allowed to have these herbs. No one else was worthy enough to have these herbs, and now we can order the same herbs in the comfort of our own home, in our underwear, sitting on our cell phone, and in 2 days Amazon will ship it to our doorstep. This is unprecedented abundance. We've got so many options today, and options increase your standard of living. If you've got one restaurant to go to in your city, you're limited. How good is your life then? Whereas if you've got 50 or 100 and they're all competing with each other with specials, with the best, trying to get the best food, the best price, that's what raises our standard of living. We've got more options than ever before. As bad as the Rockefellers are and were, when you look at some of the things that some of these guys did, they really increased the standard of living for so many people. And you can look at the Mises Institute's YouTube channel and watch some of these talks about the myths of the robber barons. I'll try to link to that below. Tom Woods has a good video about it, and they go through and they tell these examples. And of course, the Rockefeller Foundation did a lot of bad too, but I mean, John D. Rockefeller himself, foundation aside, these businessmen that rose to the top and became very rich also made things like oil very cheap for people. Everything, again, the Industrial Revolution. So when the rich get richer, they make the poor richer also. And the poor may seem poorer compared to the rich, but the saying, the rising tide rises all boats, something like that. And that's true in economics. So let's look at some of these graphs in this article, because I've been talking for a while. I can tend to talk a lot, so bear with me. Let's look at some of these graphs. I'm not gonna sit here and read this to you, but this goes into detail, like what extreme poverty is and stuff like that. So let me go back here. So here's a graph. So you see the people living in and red are people living in extreme poverty. So the number has been about the same. Yeah, it went up a little bit right here. There's war going on, but also there's a huge increase of people in the world. So the number of poor people basically have has stayed about the same, whereas the population has greatly increased, which means that there's a percentage wise, the poor people is getting less and less, and because all the increases of people that aren't living in extreme poverty. So let's go look at some more. So you look at the numbers: reduction of extreme poverty in countries that are rich today, and you see the reduction of extreme poverty. So again, even though we have a lot of rich people, the poor people today, especially in the U.S., are living lives that 150 years is a relatively short time period if you consider that we've been here for thousands of years. The richest people 150 years ago didn't have access to a lot of the things that we can't go without today. And poor people have them. Poor people have these things, cell phones. Cell phones have video games on them. Just the being able to communicate with everyone like that, send an email instantly. This is amazing, and it's all brought to us basically by rich people. I'm doing this video because I see a lot of hatred against the 1% and the rich people and all this other stuff, and I totally get it, but I have to inject some sanity and some logic and reason into this discussion because people are being misled, I believe, and that's because the government wants that. The people in power want that because it gives them a reason to exist, a reason to coerce people into giving up their money because we've got the majority over here saying, hey, look, you guys got a bunch of money. Like, let me give you one more example. Then I'm going to close this up, but go ahead and give me a thumbs up, you guys. This is a big misconception, and I'm spending my time clearing it up for you, so make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and even hit the bell so you get notified when I make future videos, because I try to make sure that I don't just keep rehashing the same things. I don't want to waste any of your time. Your time is valuable. I know that. I respect that. So I try to bring the best content I can. And if there's anything that I can do to improve, feel free to let me know in the comments. But let me close with this. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, he's been under a lot of scrutiny lately because he became the world's richest man. Now, I don't really know, the details of his financial statement, but from what I understand, most of it is in stocks. And that's not liquid, he could sell it, but then the market would tank, but the thing is Amazon has operated at a loss many times, many years, right? They've been selling stuff so cheap that they don't even make a profit at the end of the year. Who wins when Amazon sells stuff so cheap? The consumer. Granted, they're using the U.S. Postal Service, which is government service and stuff like that, and so they're subsidizing that cost a little bit onto the taxpayer, and they get some grants and stuff like that. That's a little sketchy or whatever, but regardless, Amazon has increased the standard of living for everyone. Like I said, we can order herbs that we weren't even allowed to use not long ago because the common people weren't worthy enough. We don't even have to leave our house anymore, and it's shipped right to our house. It's wonderful. It's definitely raised my standard of living. The reviews are great. They're helpful. Also, there's just so many things. I even put Amazon links, where I can get an affiliate commission. So, basically, you can save my affiliate link, bookmark it, and use it every time you shop Amazon, and I'll get a small commission on whatever you order that day. It's just theawarenessrevolution.com/Amazon, and that'll take you to Amazon, and I'll get a little bit of credit. And I appreciate that because it helps me keep doing these videos. little things like that that Amazon has done to make all of our lives better. And it doesn't hurt you to have more options. It doesn't, like, if I come up to you and I say, hey, I got this pizza for you. You can have it for $100. It's a terrible deal, and maybe a terrible pizza, but all you gotta say is like, no thanks. Me offering you something and letting you have the decision to buy it or not doesn't harm you. It only helps you, because then you get a bunch of different decisions, and you can say, okay, I want that pizza for that price, right? But if I'm the only person there with a $100 crummy pizza, only having one option will hurt you, because if you really want pizza bad enough, you're gonna get it. And what keeps me from selling you pizza for $100, especially when it's terrible, is competition, the free market. People will come in there, they'll sell better pizza at a better price. And that's how capitalism raises the standard of living of everyone, is by providing people with more choices. And as long as it's done voluntarily, then each transaction is a win-win for everyone. Everyone gains, everyone wins, and over time, everyone's life is better. So cheers to the free market, and thumbs down for government, for socialism, and for all these forced transactions, because good ideas don't require force. Again, I'm Jeremy Caney with theawarenessrevolution.com, and I hope to see you in one of my future videos.